Oh, that's funny.
Also, I tend to be like noisy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
No, we're good.
yeah, we're good. Neve, Unison, Prees. Yeah.
I just like, I have an LA 610 and I just brought it into Palm Street. Ooh, can we cut that? I don't think but like, yeah. Oh, to have the 610 back, like that thing is just like, that was always the sound of everything I did.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, the tube Prees, hey?
It's just so warm and so nice. And then you mix that with like a U87 and it's just like, you combine those with a great vocal and it's just like, you can switch to an SM7 if it doesn't work with specific artists, things like that. But that like that LA 610 like sound is just so warm. And then you got that compressor coming in. So you can really like, for like a vocal for a hip hop song, you can slam it and really like go past zero. And it gets that like crunchy, like nice, like with that warmth. It just sounds so good, you know?
Is that the one with the LA2A style or the 76 style built in? Because there's two of them.
That's a great question. You'd know. You got to come over to Palm Street and check it out and you can tell me, yeah.
I rock the Manly core. It's like an Avalon, but made by Manly. Yeah. Tube. It's got an EQ, compressor, limiter, everything, and then the Manly Ref C microphone, my baby. Yeah. It's like
we all find those like tools that just work for you, you know? And it's like once that's good, then the workflow is just
like, you know, like when you're a teenager listening to, I don't know, Nas or Jay-Z or just like big records, big hip hop, like platinum records, and you're just like fuck, what are they doing? Like maybe one day I can sound like that, you know what I mean? And that combo that I just mentioned, the Manly and Manly, is like, I'm there. I just like compress the vocal and it's like, it just sounds like $1 million, you know what I mean? It's just like, no more bedroom vocals, no more. It's just like, we're in the big leagues now, man.
Especially in a room treated like this, like it's like you mix all those things together. It's like,
the room.
I just love when shit sounds proper, you know? Like,
yeah. But yeah, you do have to have all the things together. Like you can't, like, I don't care how good your mic is. If you're in a bad room, like good luck mixing that, you know? Like room ambience or just like weird resonances. Like that was a problem I had when I first moved in here. I was so convinced that there was something wrong with the Manly that I shipped it to California, and I was like, this mic's fucked. Like something happened to it. And they had it for a couple of weeks, sent it back to me. Mic's fine. And then I nearly went insane. Like I was devastated because I was recording shit that people were paying me for, that I was pulling my hair out, driving me mental. Like, what is wrong? Like, why is my mic sounding this way? And then I realized it was this room. I never had low ceilings like this before. Little boxy room, really tight, and just like shit was bouncing off the walls and coming back into the mic, and I was just like, that's what it is. So I spent, after already treating it, I invested another $1,000 in, somebody built a bunch of acoustic panels, like custom for me. I got a bass trap, and now it's like, oh, okay, there we go. Like, there's the sound. This is what it was supposed to sound like.
It does sound really good in this room. Like, for anyone that ever comes and records here or whatever, like,
oh my God,
this room sounds incredible.
It's a big vocal booth now. The whole room is just like a big
And like,
booth.
I love that too, because when I'm recording my artists, I like to be able to like fist bump. I like to be able to do all those things. I like that like human connection. Like the booth is good for certain things, but I've always just liked having my artists in the room with me. So it's like, great take, like, you know, be able to like support in full, make eye contact, touch skin, and just like fully connect when you're doing vocals for somebody, you know? Because like, I don't want to be yelling through a booth or like a talk back mic. There's no human connection, I find, in that.
Very sterile.
But there is also use for the booth for certain things you're trying to accomplish as well.
Some people used to like only record in the booth. Like if you're whatever, like some people are more shy, or like that's what makes them feel comfortable, and it's like, great.
That was usually my go-to reason for the booth. If somebody wanted to be more intimate with themselves, they just wanted to get into their own world. It's like, the booth is great for that. But for the most part, with the artists we're working with, it's like, let's dap it up. Let's yell at each other and shit, you know? It
seems to be really commonplace in the rap world, at least. I don't know if it was from all my years at 2-Track, but that just seemed to be like the way people wanted it. Like there'd be friends and girls and just people hanging out in the control room, arms reach away, and then the artist would just be there next to me or behind me in a chair and just like doing lines. And it's just like, it's very unique in that sense, that it's just so like thrown together very quickly. There's no, I got into this a little bit on the last episode about like my frustrations a little bit with rap and things like that, about people like not having things prepared and coming to sessions and just kind of, like I said, just throwing it together, freestyling a little bit. But that lends itself to that culture that everybody in the room just, that's how it works. Like I can't criticize it just because that's what works for people. You know what I mean? There's no, it's nobody ever had lyrics prepared or written and they were like, okay, now we're going to the booth. It was just sort of like a big vibe session. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, oh no, we're just going to put things together as this session progresses.
And it makes room for mistakes too. Like mistakes are like a beautiful thing in music or art in general, right? You want to have that room to make mistakes. Like that's where all the best shit. I was flipping through, I haven't read the Rick Rubin book yet, but I was flipping through it. We were camping on the weekend for 5M's 30th birthday. Shout outs to 5. And like, I'm flipping through this book, just like random pages. I read this thing. It said, if you failed 5 times, it's not ready. If you failed 8 times, you might be close. So it's like, I love that aspect of looking at it as like, make mistakes on purpose. You can't make mistakes on purpose, you know what I'm saying? But like, to allow mistakes, like, and be okay with mistakes rather than try to perfect everything as you're coming in. It's like, that's where we've always found the best stuff. It's like, hey, your voice just cracked there. What's that about? And then it's like, it adds some uniqueness to the song or whatever. Like, I love those little precious moments. And like, maybe you don't put it in the final mix, you go through the playlist and change it, but it's like interesting.
Yeah.
Just listening for things that are like interesting, that like pop out to you, where it's like, I've never heard anything like that before. Yeah. Like, that's nice, you know?
Dude, I love that you mentioned that, because that I can even name titles of songs off the top of my head that have those in them that I remember listening to growing up and being like, oh, that's dope. Like, I like that they kept that in there. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds more like the artist was there in the booth, like organic, like making art rather than super produced and edited and delivered to me through a filter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like Triple X was really good at that. Fantastic. Like, he was really good at creating a raw feeling in his music that you didn't feel like it was overproduced or overmixed or anything, but it still like slapped. Like, like that guy almost sounded like he purposefully like didn't mix some of those tracks, but it just worked for whatever reason, you know?
Yeah, for that style, definitely.
Yeah.
So I want to get into like your evolution and your journey, I guess, that, you know, that got you here today. That's kind of the philosophy of Demo to Limo. You know, the name is like, you know, how'd you get started? How you doing? And how's the, you know, the success story. So thank you. You and I first were on each other's radars at Nimbus about 10 years ago. I mean, I graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
And since then, like, I just think it's beautiful that we've come like a decade later back together, and still it's so inspiring for me to see peers like you still doing the damn thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, still through, I know how difficult it is. Like, trust me.
Like, we created a challenge recently to see if we could gather as many artists we could over 2 nights to make as many songs as we could. For me, it was more about networking. I thought we'd make like 3 songs. It'd be like cool. They'd be like 3 kind of mediocre songs. We'll put them out on SoundCloud the next day. But like, everyone came through and we ended up making like 7 tracks. But one of those tracks, Bug made the beat for it. So Bugatti Beats, who also went to Nimbus with us. I don't know if you met him while you were there.
No.
But like, I love that full circle thing. Like, we've always kept up with the people that care, the people that love what they do, but also people that are just like salty the earth people. Like, that's always been my aim. But yeah, to get into like, if you want to get into like how this all started, it's a tale for sure.
I do. I mean, so before you were at Nimbus, you know, where was your head at? How long had you been making music, and what was your, I guess, what were your goals going into school?
Yeah. So like, this all started for me quite young. Like, I was probably like 6, 7 years old, and I saw Michael Jackson on the Grammys, I think it was, doing the moonwalk. And it's like, a little kid, I was just like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to do the moonwalk, but like, I'm getting into music. Like, I knew it quite young. Yeah. And then spent like most of my life just like fascinated with music, like all genres, all everything. Then got into high school, started writing a bit of poetry. And like, actually, I was just talking about this last night, but like, me and my sister used to play a game on the way to school where she'd say a word, I'd rhyme with it, and we'd go back and forth till someone couldn't. And there was a day one time where we were all in the back parking lot of the high school, and these kids started freestyle rapping. Like, this is before 8 Mile or anything. And I was like, oh, I know that game. And so I started doing that, and I also was into a bit of poetry and stuff. And then like that turned into like, I want to do this in a way that I can keep it.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very simple thought. It's actually a hilarious story. The first time I ever recorded myself, I got one of those little pencil mics, like that hooks up USB to a computer.
That was my first mic. Yeah.
And I didn't even understand how to record a song. Like, I remember not understanding how you make it sound good at all, and still probably don't fully. Yeah. But like, I put the microphone and I put my 2 computer speakers behind it, turn the beat on the speakers, and spit into the microphone
while the beat's
playing.
Because
I didn't understand how you get the beat in the microphone. But like, this is like the year like 2001, 2002, somewhere in there.
Yeah, okay.
Like, even like digital recording was still in its infancy, you know? And so from there, it was like, I just, out of necessity, everything in my life has been necessity. It was like, how do I figure out how to record this stuff? It took me 2 years when I finally figured out how to like operate a microphone and some software to even get my vocal coming out of both speakers. Like, I was never the guy that was going to be like the mix guy or like the audio engineer guy. Yeah. I've got the ability to do it all. But for me, it was always just a fascination with everything and just continuously like learning. Like, that's why we named our whole thing No More, because it was like, let me just keep figuring out cool stuff to do. But so anyways, I start recording all these songs for myself, and then that kind of leads into like the 2010s. Early, actually, I should really shout out my buddy Luca. Me and Luca over on the island, he used to sit in his room and he'd show me all this stuff. So he really taught me the foundation of what I learned. Like, so Luca Dorian, like, bless him, like, he taught me everything I knew early stages. Like, I don't know why he gave me so much of his time or whatever. We just broed out, and we would just sit in his basement suite hours on hours, week on week. And I just watched him, you know, make beats, record me. And I just like, I started to figure it out there. And then into the 2010s, I moved back to Vancouver, and there was, I started making this really stupid album. Like, a buddy of mine asked me to make a song for a friend for his birthday, and we wrote like this dumb album based off that. And like, that led into Nimbus. So right as I was finishing up this like silly, goofy album about some buddies of mine in Delta, Nimbus started. And as soon as Nimbus hit, everything changed, because it was like, I no longer wanted to be a rapper. I no longer want to do any of those things. I understood like where I wanted to go with the music game. And so since Nimbus, it's been just a growth in the last 10 years of like, yeah, we named the whole thing No More. So it was just like, the artists would come to me, they'd be like, we need a song record. Done. Then they'd be like, we need the album art. I'd be like, all right. And then they'd be like, we need a music video, which eventually led into people being like, we need events. And so I started going to places around town, won't mention names, and they'd be like, we'll give you like a free drink if you come in or something. I was like, why the hell would I do that? And so I eventually went, took all the last of my savings, put it into a venue so I get the liquor and the ticket sales, and started throwing my own shows and stuff. But basically the whole like evolution of this whole thing was just out of necessity. Like, whatever the boys need, like, I know how to operate cameras now and stuff. Whatever the boys needed, I just was like, we don't have a budget, and I don't want to bother. Like, I want to keep it to bothering as little amount of people as possible, because we can't pay them. And like, thank you to everyone that built this thing with me. And it's like, I just wanted to figure out as much as I could on my own, so I didn't have to like outsource or bother someone, because I knew we weren't going to have a budget for a while, but we had to like do this in full. So yeah, it's basically how I got here, was just whatever the boys needed, we just sorted.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of the same way, like a jack of all trades at a certain point when I was at Nimbus. You know, I still was emceeing quite a bit as well, and then realized, like, you know, I don't want to pursue that path to become a famous rapper. I think I'd rather be like the guy in the chair, you know. I'm pretty good at that too. So, but yeah, I mean, I was doing like my own album art. I was like selling my own tickets. I was, you know, mixing and mastering everything, doing, you know, hitting up promoters. And then through the years, you really start to find your specialty, right? Yeah. And I think going to school and meeting other like-minded people and getting a real feel for the industry, getting a real feel, like, we're there like in the front lines, like especially in the music business. Of course, I remember, like, we're not in class, we're actively putting on shows as part of the curriculum, right? So we're like right there, like doing the thing, living in the culture of the music industry. And that was when I realized, like, oh, I see how this works. I see how this works. I'm not very good at this. I'm going to stick with this, and then just continue and focus on that. So for you, like, at what point did you realize that you wanted to really focus on what you're doing now? Or like, how long did it take you to really become a specialist? And you know, I remember you said you were kind of putting rapping a little bit to the side at the beginning, but how did it progress from there?
Well, like the truth of it is, I think is I'm still figuring it out, but I think I've become more of like I could audio engineer, I could do all those things. But for me, I think I've fallen more into the role of like almost like at this moment, I think there's still an evolution past it, but like I think at the moment I've become more like an A&R. Because like I just like taking care of artists. Like that's always been my jam. Like just that's why we figured all those things. I was like, all right, we got all these cool artists. What do they need? How do we support them? And how do we get them to the final result that they're trying to get to? So I think I've fallen more into like an A&R role now,
very cool.
Which is nice. And I like it. I like the sounds of it. I like the feel of that as like a thing. I didn't even think about it. It was somebody approached me and tried to hire me as an A&R for their record label.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you can't. Like I'm unhireable. Like I'm trying to do something very specific. I mean, I might still consider it, but it's like when he said that, I was like, oh, so that like I knew of A&Rs, but then I went and did a deep dive. I was like, that all adds up. Like it's very simple. It's artists and representation.
Yeah.
I love artists and I love representing them. So like I've fallen a bit more into that role currently, I think. But where I want to really go with it, I'm still not sure. And I like that. Like I like that. Like again, the whole thing was named No More because it's like we're just going by the seat of our pants every day and just like really. I'm trying to find happiness. Like, I think that's what we're all trying to do technically is just, and like, so I've just very much enjoyed the journey of like learning all this stuff. And people call me now where I'm like, that's fucking cool. Like that person's calling me and like, they're looking for me. To me, that's like an honor. Cause it's like, I still feel like brand new. I still walk into a recording studio like yours and I still get excited like I did when I was 14 going to the studio for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess also like final bit of that is my thing has always been just make sure I keep the excitement. So I just try to make sure back in the day, I used to say, if it stops being fun, I'm done. Yep. So like, I always live by that motto. So we just kept finding ways to have fun with this while also like accomplishing like stuff on the biggest scale that we could.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. I'm curious, you say you're focusing on A&R, more A&R stuff now. How important is your skill set and the things that you did before that to what you do now? Like understanding
is so key. Like so many strange things. Like I even did like Rogers Arena like for years and like convention center working for a company called Riggit. And like even that, like just doing lighting, for instance, on stage at Rogers Arena for like a Bruno Mars concert or something, like taught me so much. Like I think it's actually important for people to hear that. It's like for the people listening to this, it's like your journey just is your journey, you know? Like you start at birth and then one day you die and like whatever happens in between that is your life. So just focus on doing the things, like I said, that make you happy. Like that's always been my goal. It's like when we get to the end of this, like I just want to look back and be like, I did everything I could do to make music, to make art, and to help these boys and ladies to leave a legacy of some sort of their own and just to support that in the best way. So like, I think that's why the A&R thing I think hit me so hard. Because I was like, that's truly what I love. Like, I've got kids I've been working with since they're 14. And now I got guys getting into their 30s. I even just did an album with Rosmo and Lithium. And like, I think Liz, like, I don't think he wants me to probably mention it, but like Liz, you know, getting up in like 40s and stuff and just murdering it because he loves it. Like he just like, we just made a whole album over the last like 7-8 months and I watch him work. Like Kid Lith, we didn't really like know each other on a deep level before we started. I knew Rosmo better. And watching him work, like, it reminds me every day when I'm working with those people that are just like, they just do this because they love it.
Totally.
But there's also benefits. Like they just did a tour, made some money. And it's like, there's also benefits to making this also something where you don't got to go do a day job. Like I want to build those things in that way. Yeah. Like my boys that are out cutting down trees or doing whatever job on a daily basis, like we could just get them out of that so that we can make more art. Like that's the next goal. I don't know if that answers your question, but. Oh, it's
beautifully put. Regardless, I think the key thing really is like you said that if it stops being fun, like I'm out, and I'm still like trying to figure out how I got here, but I know that the one thing is that I kept following like what brought me joy, you know, what gave me fulfillment. I never thought when I decided I wanted to be a rapper when I was 13 that I'd be hosting a podcast about music. Like that never in a million years was like even a thing, but now here I am, and my 20 years of making records now give me like a great foundation to be able to host the show. And like, isn't that crazy? Like how that evolution got all put together. Like the yellow brick road is ridiculous in that way. So yeah, it's really fascinating. Like, but I'm so cool to hear. It's so cool to hear that you're really, you know, it still sound like you're inspired and you're still, you know, following the dream. What are some of your like, what have been some of your biggest lessons that you've learned over the last couple of years? Like
a lot of them. Yeah. Like, number one, build a team of people that you care and love about, that like support you and you support them, and you don't have to feel worried on a daily basis if they're gonna like duck and run at the first sign of like the next best thing or anything like that. Like, work with people that you get that. Number one for me is work with people that give you that feeling every day of that joy and like that support on both ends, where it's like it's reciprocated on all ends. Because like I've learned that lesson the hard way over the years. Like we've sent some kids to the stratosphere, and like they probably wouldn't even pick up a phone for me now. And like honestly, I don't even look back on those kids and blame them either. Like I was a muppet, you know, like I was an absolute rascal through some of those years. So for me, it was like those two learnings were probably like at the center of like what's made me who I am today. It's like, make sure you know who you're around and who you're working with, and work with great people. Like find salt of the earth people to work with. And then also like get your own shit together. Because it's like, it's not always just like, I always try to point in the mirror first, you know? So it's like, all right, let's figure my shit out as well. Like you can't just go around blaming everyone else for your problems. It's like, take a look in the mirror and figure out what went wrong on your end and sort that shit out, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's a big one, definitely. Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. It's so easy to point fingers and put the blame on other people or just it's so this industry is so like, I don't know, it's so up and down, man, and it's so like, it's so difficult to find your way, to find like where you fit in. But I sort of kind of lost my train of thought there. What were you just saying?
I kind of black out when I'm doing these things.
You keep going on these tangents, and there's so many things to unpack. I keep anyhow. Tell me a little bit more about your label that you've mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, like again, our lives are so funny. Like everything just came out of necessity. So like any relationship, you meet like a girl, for instance, you're going along this journey with them. There's always going to be that moment eventually that it hits that like, all right, what are we type thing. And it was just that, like, that's how No More was conceived. It was just like, we should have a thing. Like, what is this thing? And so me and Brett Murphy, who you know, sweet Brett, we sat down for 6-7 months and just went through names and like concepts of what are we trying to do and like what is this. We had so many. Like somewhere in the vault, which I can't even access anymore, is like a piece of paper with stacks of names. And then one day, I'm pretty sure it was Brett, I think I could give him credit for this, but he just said No More. Like based off these concepts we were putting out. Like it wasn't based off a name, it was based off the idea of what we were trying to do. And No More hit, and I was just like, oh shit. Like
something
that's
clicked.
simple. Like it's on my head right now. And if, again, back to the man in the mirror, it's like if I go stare at myself in the bathroom for a second, No More is right on top of my brain every day, which is just like, No More was built again off that reminder of just like, just keep growing. Sorry, what was the question though? It was like,
well, I'm curious, like, you know, you're focusing on A&Ring and things like that, but like, tell me about this No More brand. Like, what do you guys do?
Okay,
yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, so like for me, No More started as, I mean, you could call it a label, but you could also not. No More for me is probably something that eventually will end up being an umbrella company to many other things. So it's people always want me to like pinpoint it as something, but for me, No More is a playground. Like it's always been a space. Like it had to be named something, everything we were doing, but we're doing so many different things that I never even wanted to back the No More concept into a corner. No More is like almost more of like a lifestyle of just like, And then, yeah, there'll probably be like little like branches of things that grow off that become businesses. But like No More for me, I never even really wanted it to be something specific. I always wanted to leave it a bit more open-ended, and people drive me nuts. But the thing I'm realizing more so than ever now is that for me, No More is a place to tell stories. It's a place for me to go where I can tell stories, whether that's the songs that tell stories, the video work that we do that tells stories, or even the behind the scenes stuff that isn't content for the internet or for the world, that's like just people hanging out behind the scenes. It's a concept and a lifestyle of just like, let's just keep figuring this thing out to the best of what we are physically capable of doing. And then like, yeah, it probably does fall under like label and stuff like that as well, because there's a bunch of people and it probably is a record label at the end of the day. But for me, I mean, maybe I'm nuts, but it's just like, I like to leave it kind of open-ended where it's like, it's got room to grow into whatever it's supposed to be kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if labeling it, in a sense, you're kind of limiting it at the same time, but it sounds like it's just a big creative, endeavor.
It was my way to support the city and the world, really. Like, we work with people too from the UK, from Germany, from South Africa. We got people all over the world that we work with. Not just musicians, not just beat makers, producers, but photographers, graphic designers, anything that you need to get this game done. Like, our team has grown to this like extensive level of anything you could possibly need to get this done. And I guess that's also kind of what No More is. It's this beautiful collective of just brilliant people that we've been lucky enough to meet over the years that also just fuck with the vision of it. And I don't know why that is. To me, it's bizarre. Like, there's this girl, Ash, for instance, that came to one of our shows. I think it was about the third or fourth show I did, called Winter Warm Up. And she's so sweet. She went to a thrift shop, picked up a bunch of shop stuff, and put No More on it. And I started wearing this green jacket around the concert because I was just so excited. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, we got this little naming idea, and she made some stuff, and it's on a jacket. So I put the jacket on, wore it around the event that night, and people kept coming up to me. They're like, could I get that? And I was like, oh, shit. So then I was like, well, we could probably do something. So like, we became a merch, like No More's become a merch business as well. And like, it blows my mind to see those out and about. And it also blows my mind when people actually like hit me up to buy. Like, it's not even easy to buy a hoodie off me. Like, you can't go on a website. You can't simply go to a store to get a hoodie off me. You actually have to go into my DMs, message me, and we'll just work it out that way. And then you possibly have to wait a couple months, because I got to wait till I get like at least like X amount of orders in to make it worth my time to go down and pick all the stuff up. Plus the manufacturer won't even do it till we hit a certain number.
Right.
So that's how the merch started. I realized that they need a certain amount at the manufacturing place to make them. I had enough requests, but not enough to meet their demands. So I was like, well, shit, I guess we got to figure that out as well. Like, how do we sell more of these so those small group of people are happy? So it's even that was just an evolution of necessity. It's just like, all right, we'll make, actually, just for anyone like watching this too, it's like super beneficial probably to know. And I've never been one to hold back my secrets. I feel like I'm always learning new shit. So it's like, I'm glad to teach what I already know, because we're going to keep growing. And I think this whole city could get on if we could share our information. But the merch was trippy to me, because I probably wouldn't even put out merch to this day if that didn't happen. Because I'd be like, we don't have a brand yet big enough to do merch with, but the merch created the brand. And like, I hope that all artists out there and stuff know that, like, you might not think you're big enough to do merch or anything like that, but it might be the merch that might make you big enough. You know, it was a weird thing I wouldn't have done on purpose.
Right.
But again, because we've always been kind of open-ended, it just played out that way.
Wow. So how does, I mean, you don't have to get into like the specifics of the business structure, but I'm curious, like, is this like based on word, or is this like, do you actually have people on payroll here, like under a business, a company, or how does it work?
No, it's funny. It's like, it's really truly just a bunch of people supporting each other. Okay. And there's so many different little like revenue streams and random shit that goes on in there that like, I just take whatever that money is that we make off all this stuff and reinvest it. And as I'm reinvesting that money back in, I'm making sure that I'm giving percentages of the money spent to our in-house team. So it's like, okay, yeah. If Brett's helping me out with merch, I make sure that he gets a percentage off each hoodie to help me make that possible. If Sai is helping me out with graphic design, we pay her just in full like a graphic designer because that's what she deserves, you know? Like I call Sai God. Like she's accomplished things for us and she's created our entire aesthetic. So I always just make sure that if there is money coming in, that it's going to the people that made it come in. And that's always been my goal. But like, it's a lot of things now. So it's hard to even break it down into like, what's what, you know, you got the events, you got the merch, you've got the audio recording, you've got the videos, we've done podcasts. It's like, there's so many different facets to it that it's like, it's hard to even pinpoint.
It sounds like a lot. It's very cool. Do you guys have an actual, like a headquarters, a studio where you
hell yeah. So we're now working out of Palm Street Studios.
Nice.
Which is run by Colin Joseph Cuthbert, aka Dead Poet, Official Midnight, Adam Castillo, and also Andrew Lowe, who's just an incredibly talented pianist. And like I could go off for probably an hour just on each one of those individual boys. But I'm fresh in there. Like I just moved over to Palm Street because it's home. Like we've always, at least me, I've always looked for that feeling of like home.
I love that place.
Yeah,
it's a great vibe. And Adam's a friend of mine. I mean, I had him on the show.
You know Castillo.
We go back. Yeah, so
I really like that.
I love that guy.
We just went camping on the weekend for Fi's birthday. And he also came to California with us in January. But we've been working together since Rogers Arena back in the day and all that stuff. Yeah. So I've known him for a long time now. And there's not a lot of people like that you, again, could be gifted in this lifetime. Like Castillo has something so unique when it comes to his skill set, but then he also has like that sweet demeanor, you know, like
so sweet, so humble.
I could take him into any room on planet Earth and I wouldn't have to worry about him. It's like he could just go do his own thing. It's like I love those people where, like, I always think about people in that way. It's like, could I take you anywhere and not have to worry about what you're gonna say, what you're gonna do? It's like we're all cohesively like on the same page, and Castillo couldn't be any more of that. And that's outside of his skills. When it comes to his mixing and his audio engineering and everything, that boy's leveled up so much. And it's just like, I'm proud to see where he's gone with it. Plus they run that space like clockwork. Like it's run very well, Palm Street. It's clean, it's tidy. They got all the right gear and the people are like, and the vibe, like studios are all vibe, eh? Like, when I walked in here, every studio has a vibe. And like when I walked in here, instantly it was like, all right, sit down, cross your legs and kick back. Cause it's like, this place has a good aura to it or whatever you want to call it. And Palm Street is like home. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh man, that's so cool. That's like one another like level of connection between us.
Do you mind if I jump? How'd you meet Castillo?
I was working with 28 Flair when I was at 2 Track still, and I recorded and mixed an album for him, and Castillo was producing for him at the time, so I was getting stems from him for the beats. And then we did like it was Chaos Club put on an event at 2 Track, like a meet and greet, and then I was in Studio B at the time, so I was just doing like an open house and having people come in and show them around, and that's where I met Adam, and we just started talking about gear or whatever.
He's so smart, man. Like if you get into a conversation like that with that guy, it's like fascinating.
So then you know, we'd already been communicating through email, like I said, and then we met in person finally, and then just like, you know, one thing led to the next. I had him on the podcast a little over a year ago, and we stayed in touch. Before I was here, I was or before I kind of got my booth and acoustic setup right here, I was renting out Palm Street with some of my artists just to record there for a little bit. So that's sort of our relationship, and I can't say enough good things about him and about that place. So
also, like when it comes to Palm Street, like in the city, when it comes to like rate meets value, their rate and their value are like, in my opinion, almost mixed match, because you're getting so much value out of that place. And it's like, they've had this goal, I believe, I don't want to speak for Palm Street, but the way like from an outside perspective of what they're operating there, kind of now getting on the inside of what's going on, like those boys just really care about helping artists too.
Yes.
And that's why I think we all link up so good, because it's like we're both on the same mission like that. Like they really just care about artists, you know, and like I think they've probably like kept all their things the way they've kept them at, I wouldn't say a detriment, but like out of just love for the city and making sure that artists in the city have the like the skills there are wild. And like that place, like they could charge $1,000 an hour, and I know people still want to go there. So it's like, it's beautiful that they make it accessible as well.
It's
and
so
they
cool.
fight for that. Like from what I understand, I mean, I might not be correct about this, but from just watching what they're doing, it seems like they're genuinely fighting for artists, and like that's rare too. Like a lot of studios in the city, like I mean, we all got to make money and inflation and everything, but like it's nice to see that like they're thinking about themselves second in that sense, that like they really care that like the city has somewhere to go with top quality gear and an audio engineer that's the best in the city, and like keeping it like reasonably affordable for those artists that actually like matter, you know?
And not just having the music side, but they've got that like that white space there as well, right? Like
the creative space type kind
I mean,
of vibe
it's kind of like you just walk in the door and you got everything you need, like start to finish.
Yeah, you want to like
roof,
shoot your like album art afterwards in like a photo studio. They've got that.
It's incredible.
And then on top of that, they also use that space for live events.
Yeah.
Like very like intimate. Like I was just at one last week on Thursday, I think it was. They did a R&B showcase.
Dope.
And like, I was like, oh, cool. Like, let's go check out like some of these new up and coming kids that are starting to work out their shit. I go in there, dude. I was blown away. These were not kids working something out. These kids were like cream of the crop, and like kids I never even met before. It's like, where are they all coming from? But like, but the fact they do that for the city as well. Like, we always talk about that. Like, if you want to be like a rapper in the city and perform for a tourist group or somebody that's just in from out of town that just wants to come see our local scene, where do you go to do that? You know? And it's like, Palm Street's also opening up access to that. Like, you want to go see the best in the city. They're throwing these cool little events that are intimate. Like, you can only fit X amount of people in there and it's tight.
Yeah, those are very valuable.
And it's like the artist is right there.
Yes.
Like, you can hear through the microphone, but you can hear their voice over the microphone.
Totally.
And so there's no chance to hide as well.
Yeah.
And it also just like blew my mind on the fact of how talented these kids are, that you're like in an intimate setting like that, like they're just killing it, you know?
Yeah. So great. So much positivity over there. So when you say that's like your home, like, how does that work? Are you like setting up meetings there with your artists, or because you're not recording and tracking much anymore, right? Are you?
I still do it. Yeah.
You
like,
do. Okay.
If I find somebody that like is unique to me, that like I think I could help them grow. Like if I see value in what I could give them, I'll always go do it. I prefer like, I guess, Castillo or someone to do the engineering, just because I know that he's leagues above me when it comes to that. But for me, I still just love doing it. So I'll still do it. And like, I more so now look for artists that like might not get a chance to have like a top tier situation. And I find like, I can't do many of them, right? Like you only can handpick a couple. And so I've just been always trying to pay attention to like, is this kid, like I got this kid YB4C I've been working with for a couple years now. And I just believe in him, you know? I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but I love working with him. I love the music he's making. And I love that it's like got room for growth as well. Like we can continuously give him that. Like a lot of these kids just need time on a microphone to work it out. Yeah. And like, I love supporting that, but also like pushing them a little bit, you know, like in whatever way I can. Like every artist needs something different, but giving them like that extra, like not just sitting there and hitting record, but helping them work out what they're trying to accomplish as well.
Being a mentor. We talked about this on the last episode with my boys. They're in a group called The Renaissance, and they're basically like a production duo. They take artists like raw ideas. They were literally talking about, you know, voice memos that an artist send them with like a melody of somebody humming into the mic, and then they'll turn that into a record and like help them flesh it out. But beyond like musical ability and technical skill, like they have been doing this a long time, like you and I have, and have been through many things, seen so many angles, and are able to be a mentor and a coach for younger artists. And that in itself is so valuable. Like there is that could be, I mean, maybe that is A&Ring in a sense, but you've got the studio engineer, the mixer, the photographer, album art person, but like the mentor person, the like the coach, the like motivator, the like keep your, you know, that
like, who do I talk to about
yeah,
this shit?
I mean,
like,
there's no that. So if you can blend that with another skill set like engineering, or blend that with kind of what you're doing, and they certainly have found a way to do that and incorporate that into like their business model. And I've definitely been doing that as well over the years, because like I said earlier, I started out as a rapper, right? I started out like wanting to be an MC, and then through the years things changed, and I decided I, you know, don't really care much for self-promotion and all those things.
Yeah.
But as a result, I have, you know, years and years of being on stage, holding a mic, being able to like interact with crowds, and well over 10,000 hours in the booth on the mic, you know, in front of Pro Tools. And so when I meet someone that's 20, 21 that I see so much potential in, I can help them like fast track through all of those things, and just
and avoid
and guide
pitfalls,
them,
like,
and avoid the pitfalls. And I get so much, there's so much satisfaction in that. There's so much, it's so rewarding to be able to coach them and see like them develop. There's a couple of artists that come to the top of my head that I feel like, you know, not to be egotistical, but that I feel directly responsible for, like seeing their evolution and their growth, like almost like that's like my kid, or like that's like,
yeah, I always tell people I have like 47 illegitimate children,
right?
Like, yeah, because it's like, yeah, they do become like family, and
you put so much time and effort into them, and it goes well beyond, like, you know, been not dealing with, but listening to my wife's advice of, are you charging for this? Like at home, responding to DMs, like the music industry never sleeps. You know what it's like. You leave the studio, but you're working all the fucking time. Yeah. And I mean, unless I'm like physically wet in the shower and I can't hold my phone, I'm probably doing something about music.
Honestly,
right?
On a side note, how many times have you actually been in the shower with your phone?
I haven't. No.
I'm that crazy about it.
Oh wow, yeah.
I've answered phone calls in the shower just because I'm like, shit, this like has to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's ringing from outside the shower. I'll book it out, grab the phone, and people are like, are you in the fucking shower? And I'm like, yeah, but like you needed something.
What do you need? Yeah.
I know in 10 minutes it's too late, so like screw it. Like let's chat.
But that's the reality of this industry. Like it never sleeps. It's constantly moving. Things need to happen immediately. You know, opportunities are knocking constantly, and you know, you can miss them so quickly. So yeah, I mean, you know what it's like. It's the dedication, man. It's just unparalleled, really. But going back to developing artists and things like that, that has been such a great experience for me, and so valuable, and I mean, who maybe you can tell us now, like, who are you especially stoked about that's like on your roster right now, or that you'd like to like tell us a little bit more about?
5 a.m. Zeri all day.
Okay.
Like, I live, breathe, and eat 5 a.m. Zeri. Like that's all. Like me and that boy have been working on something, and like I love all the artists we work with, but for me at the end of the day, it's like Sam's always brought it on a level of not just being great at what he does, but his work ethic's on point like nobody I've ever seen. Like not even just in this industry, in the world in general, I've never seen someone with work ethic like that, which pushes me, because like I'm a little competitive in a healthy way like that. Like me and him were like, oh, you've already written to 5 of those beats that I made yesterday? I'll make 5 more today if that's what you need. Like, so 5 a.m. and me have just been on this journey together, like in parallel as well, where he supported me and I've supported him, and I wouldn't be anywhere without 5, you know, like I'd be doing this, and I was already doing this before him, but he was that thing that like made me like, well, actually that's not true. Sarx UK was the first person to make me really believe in me, but 5 was that one that allowed me to work it out. Like,
okay. Yeah. When
I met him, I told him we had to make 50 songs that year or I wouldn't do it, because I was tired of working with artists at that point. And long story short, we wrote 135, I think, that year. And we spent, like, other than like Christmas and a couple other days, we were in the studio every single night that year. Like every single night. At some point he moved into my house. That's 400 square foot studio apartment, just so that we could work more. And like, yeah, I love that boy. Like I'd do anything for him. And yeah, me and Five came up together. We've been in parallel the whole time. So how can you not respect that, you know?
Wow. That's something.
Like go listen to 5 Am's there. I'll fucking shout that shit every chance I get. Like he's the man, yeah?
I'm a little ashamed to admit that I hadn't heard of him until you sent me that, the 4.4, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But I've been listening to that all day. Maybe we can get into that a little bit more, but I mean, my God, if there's one thing that's like so clearly obvious in the music industry, and especially after doing this for as long as I have, like I have a sixth sense about things, right? And the amount of sessions that I've taken over the years, you can tell right away. Like someone opens their mouth. Yeah. I can tell if someone's good on the mic, like when I shake their hand, like by their body language, like all these things, you just get a sense, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as he came on, I was just like, this man is special. Like,
yeah, he's gonna be huge, man. Like there's no two ways about it, because we just won't quit. Like we just will not. Like we're just gonna be playing this game. It is funny, like you mentioned that, like you haven't heard of him and stuff. Like, all right, it's like we're making bangers now. It's like, okay, so like the world better start paying attention, because like early adopters are going to be very thankful when they do, because 5 Am's like, we will not quit. Like there is no quit in us. We're going to be doing this until like, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever
it
takes.
We're not too set on exactly what that's supposed to be, other than like, we want to make a living at this. And I believe he should be the #1 artist in the world. Like I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. Like, and he shouldn't be because he just is him. He should be because the gift that he has and what he could give to the planet, in the sake of like the message he can bring and the stuff that he can do off the microphone. Like, yeah.
Clearly very gifted, very special. So you know, the way that I couldn't put a finger on if it was trap singing or melodic rapping, but it's just like it's somewhere in between those two things, but like done so tastefully.
Like we have probably over like 700 songs now too, so like if there's a type of song you like, we have it. Like there's nothing that he can't do, because like when we first started working together, he was willing to put in the time to allow me to do my job to my best. Like it wasn't like some artist that came in like, all right, well, let's do 3 takes and I'm out of here. It's like he was like, let's sit down. So we sat down early stages, and we'd go through every vocal inflection we could possibly find in his voice. Like we'd sit down and just do like one verse, and I'd be like, try it like this. And he'd be like, what if I try it like this? And then we just kept going back and forth to figure out what he's actually capable of vocally. And like that result, actually, like that's worth doing for anyone else is recording somebody. It's like, test their vocal inflection, like see what their voice can actually do. Cause like you could talk like this, or you could talk like, it's like, just mess with it until you have every vocal inflection you could possibly have available at any given moment. So sometimes now we'll be on the mic and I'll be like, remember that thing we did in 2018 on that one specific track at that third verse? Could you do this on this verse? Because like that voice would be like the perfect thing for this moment. And we have all these like tools that we can reach into to grab out now as well from just testing shit, you know?
I love that you're emphasizing like learning about the voice. Like that is such a key thing that I think is
what we're doing,
is super duper not respected or just ignored altogether. And I went on a little bit of a tangent about this recently, and maybe sounded like a bit of a dick, but I think that particularly with the rap, trap, hip hop world, maybe not like dedicated MCs that are like MCs through and through, but there's definitely like subgenres of rap where it's just like you don't see that very often. There's no dedication to the voice as an instrument. It's just sort of like, I don't know, you must have seen it a lot over the years, where like the people that, like you said, the 3 takes in the route, or the just like the bare minimum effort, and they just lean on the engineer too heavily to like make me sound good, where it's like, no, like this, I got to respect this. Like you wouldn't go to Long and McQuaid and buy a violin and then book a studio session without fucking learning the thing, right?
Yeah. And like, no disrespect, but disrespect, like if you're just trying to sound like Little Xerox, you know, like as a copy and paste artist, it's like, the fuck are we doing? Like that's not what hip hop and rap came from, and it's not what any art came from. Imagine if somebody out there was just like in Picasso's era trying to duplicate Picasso's. You'd be like, what are you doing? Like, go do your own thing. Like, what is that? So it's like, I don't know how we got there, but like, again, like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's like there's so many kids in the city that are trying to sound like somebody else. And it's like, why? Like, why? We're here as, like, not to get into snowflakey shit, but like, we're here as ourselves. Like, you only get to be you, and why not do something unique with that, you know? So we've also chased that, like, heavily. Like, I don't want to ever put out music that sounds like something else. I want to put out music that sounds like something that sounds unique, you know?
Yeah, you get one chance to do that, to be yourself.
Yeah.
That is the coolest thing that you can do. You know, when you realize, like, if I can be myself and refine this and make it special, like, no one can touch this. This is me. I get to be me. I get to do this. That we get so caught up in wanting to sound like someone else. I get caught up in this myself, like with mix envy, like, oh my God, I gotta, this mix sounds this way. I gotta do that on my song or whatever it is. But like, no, you're right, man. I mean, it's like, this is art at the end of the day. We're making art. We have an opportunity here to be unique and to be creative.
Especially like this new world that we've been led into with the AI stuff. It's like, if you really just want to be a little copy of something else, then like, just let AI do that. AI is going to
got that figured out.
AI is going to do a great job of that. If you just like, you know, why even try to rap? Go figure out how to work a computer and some AI and create music that way, which is also like, that could be interesting. Like that, there's some interesting, I'm not a, you know, but if you're actually using your own voice and writing your own words, like imagine if you wrote your life story and then tried to sound like Lil Wayne while you're doing it. It's like, why? I just don't, I've never understood it. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, we're impressed. We're impressed by the ego. We're influenced. You know, we see the stars and the celebrities and the people we look up to, and it's human nature to want to like emulate and be, you know, that's why superhero movies exist, right? We want to be like larger than life. We want to be something else. We want to be, but there's nothing more powerful than like learning what you are capable of and refining that and turning that into something special. Like look at all the great artists ever, like whether it's painters or poets or singers, it's like they have their own unique thing that's what made them. Like that's why they've stood the test of time and influenced millions of people. And you get a chance to be that, but yourself.
Yeah. It's like if like Ray Charles tried to sound like Al Green, it's like it would have been a devastating result to planet Earth, you know? It's like,
that would have been a waste. Yeah.
Such a waste. It's like, we all get a chance to be ourselves. Like, I just love that. And there's nothing wrong with also trying to duplicate those songs, but don't put them out. Like, use that as a learning curve. You know?
Don't put them out.
Like, use it like, okay, like I could figure out how to sound like this person for the purpose of figuring out how to sound like myself. Yeah. Like, that's fine.
That's practice.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but like, I don't know. Also, no hate. Like, if that's what you're doing, fine. Like, fine. That's, you know, just not what we're trying to do personally, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So back to 5 a.m. Can you tell me a bit about like the production and the beats and like the mixing? And I have so many questions about it. First of all, it sounds so good. Like
Castillo.
It's Adam?
Yeah, we run everything through Castillo. I don't put a record out now unless it goes through Castillo. And then after it goes through Castillo, it'll go through Chris Antonio over at Nova.
Okay. To do like the final master? Or?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that process changes up a little bit other than like the Castillo part. But like KGB's become a huge part of Five's career. Okay. Like I haven't even met KGB, but like the music that those two are making, like they have an album that's basically like done. And like KGB is just nuts. So it's like, it's one part like, yeah, we have kind of like a cut and dry way of like who we go through because we're loyal to those people. But also you got to like go like experiment as well. So we've also never been like, you have to do things this way or there's no pressure that way. It's like, go work with every producer you can get your hands on and every beat maker you can get your hands on. Like could only imagine if 5 was only recording with me still and only using my beats. It would be a tragedy, you know? It's like,
no, you're going to learn a lot as an artist by branching out and try a new studio, try a different mix engineer, like track with someone else. Definitely.
Yeah, just for the fun of it. Like,
yeah, learn about yourself, challenge yourself, right? Like step outside of your comfort zone of, oh, this type of beat I always use, but like, no, like try a totally different thing and see if it works for you. And you're going to learn about your voice, learn about your style, and maybe invent something totally new that you didn't know you could do. Dude, so you're tracking most of that and then Adam's mixing it.
I'm not even tracking most of it anymore. Like,
because you guys aren't living together anymore.
Like, yeah, well, with 5, it was like, I really wanted, like, when I lost the vault because of the pandemic, I moved to the island just to go be close to like family and stuff. Yeah. I was like, I just needed a break. Like I was in that place 8 years. Like I didn't even leave it for 8 years.
That was your previous studio?
Yeah. Like I was there 7 days a week, you know, 16-hour days for 7-8 years straight. So when it ended, I was just like, well, let me take a break. Like, so I just moved to the island.
Okay.
And that opened up the space for 5 to like, out of necessity, I think, or whatever it was, to go work with other people. And I just loved watching it because of the result. Like it's always just result based. So when he started working with all these different people more so, it was like, oh, he's growing. Yeah. Like that no more mantra continues because I watched him grow and grow even quicker by going experimenting with different people. Nice. And I think that's why we've added that to our process, because it's like there's a lot of value there to, there's so many, you live in this city. It's like, go work with some people. Like there's some cool ass people in the city. Go check them out. You know? Like I just met Timmy Boombat, for instance.
Okay.
I didn't even know who Timmy Boombat was. We went to go shoot a music video for Ebb and Empress in his studio area. And I'm just like around this guy and I'm like, who is this? This guy's got the best vibe ever. Like he was just so like full of life and bouncy, but he's also been around since like the Swollen Member days and all that. So he's got the lineage and the history inside of himself that he was in those rooms in those moments. Yeah. So even just sit down with a guy like that and chat, but then take 5 or some of the artists over to Timmy, see what they do. Like that guy can play drums, guitar, yada, yada, yada. It's like, yeah, let's see what happens there, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So,
I didn't even ever really like my beats, you know?
On a day-to-day, like what are you spending most of your time doing these days?
I'm all over the place. Like every single day for me is different in the sense of like I got so many options as to where to go. So it's like it's just whatever people need from me. Like there might be a week where I'm shooting like BTS for like some kind of business, you know, or like there could be weeks where we're just trying to finalize an album. But like the only real scheduled things is like certain artists will approach me and I dedicate fully to it. So like Roz and Lith, when they asked me to do their album, I was like, then we're doing it. Like I don't half-ass nothing. So when they asked me to do that, we've been working 7-8 months every single Monday, and any other days we can get available with all 3 of us to like just work those out. So like I try to keep in that world as much as possible. Like find artists that need some kind of something and make sure that beginning to end I deliver. Yeah.
Are you actively, I don't know, online, like trying to like artist hunting, like on SoundCloud or online to trying to find like the next talent? Like
always. Yeah. I'm always hunting. Yeah. Cause like there's like, I don't even directly work with them, but like there's a kid, Deshine. Have you heard of him?
Sounds familiar.
Like he put out this, like I'm still just a music fan at the end of the day. And like Deshine put out this song, like I think it's called My Block. But it's like, it's just this beautiful message about, I love my dogs. I love my bros. Like, and then you get the benefit of you get to be around these kids too. So you're like, you kind of become a fan on one end, but then you're also like hanging out with them. You get to rip into them. Like when I was a kid, if I could do that, I would have been the happiest person on earth. Like if I could have kicked it with Swollen Members in the early 2000s and just like asked a couple of questions, that would have been a dream come true. So it's nice now that we're like in that world, and I'm just a fan of music. So
it's so special when you can be like a legitimate fan of an artist, but you're also like, you happen to be working directly with them.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Like,
and that's how I feel about all the artists I work with. Like, it's always kind of
honestly,
surreal.
Me too, man. It's so special. It's like, these are people that, like, my wife and I drive somewhere and we're like, that's the music we put on, like as our go-to. Like those, like the artists that I'm working with are some of my favorite music period right now. And like, my God, isn't that beautiful? That a beautiful thing? That's so special.
Like also with that, it's like I love the position I'm in. You're asking kind of like what a week looks like in the life, but like, I love that I've built my life into a position now where like, even if you offer me $400 an hour, if I think the music is not there, I won't do it. It's it's never been about money for me. So it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, maybe you have $0 budget, but like, I just really think you got something. It's like,
oh, I'm with you. I'm with you, dude.
It, you know?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the amount of unpaid work that I've done over the years for people that I believe in, or for something that I wanted to be a part of, and just because it goes back to like having fun. Like, you know, I've said this so many times on the show, but like, we chose this. I chose this. Yeah. Like, I should be enjoying it. We should be feeling good about this.
If not, I would have like kept down the route of like sales or something. Honestly, or whatever, you know? It's
you
like,
know, yeah, I'd be raking leaves at Queen Elizabeth Park if I wasn't like feeling the music, you know what I mean?
No, this was never about the money, but pay me a top dollar for my skills now, because it's like people like ourselves have put, you know, 10 years into this. At least like post-schooling of it, before you even get into the years before that of what we like did to build ourselves into the position to even go to that school to add value there.
But over like, 2 decades for me.
So it's like pay me like
I'm good at this.
Pay me my $100 an hour. Like, it's like, and I feel comfortable with that. I remember Futch at Nimbus said to me one time, he said, I was like, Futch, I don't think I was asking, somebody else was, but I was like just there in the conversation, and he said, hey Futch, like, how do you figure out what to charge these artists, or like for a mix or for any of these things? And Futch, genius that he is and absolute hilarious guy, just goes, charge them the most you can with a straight face. And I took that shit seriously. It's like, you know, all the things I do, like I could gladly, like, if the budget was there, which, you know, I'd gladly say I'm worth $1,000 an hour and not flinch, you know, like, and like, I still feel like I'm being lowballed, you know? So it's like,
well, when you take into account all the things that you're really doing, all the skill set that you have, the years of experience, but then putting those all together, it's like, it's not just you're adding them, you're multiplying all these things. Like what you really bring to the table is so valuable. It's so Thanks, unique, man. and like your skill set. So like, absolutely. Like, how many other Krev Macks are in the city? I don't think there are, you know what I mean? So like, put a dollar sign on that, and you know what I mean? Like, that's,
well, the thing that made me hit that realization, it wasn't on some cocky thing. It wasn't on anything. It was when people started paying me handsome amounts, I realized that I can't do an hourly rate type thing necessarily, because I realized the more you pay me, the more value you're going to get out of me. I don't know why that is. I don't know what clicks in my brain in that way. But yeah, it's like, the more money I get paid, the better I'm able to deliver. And that's not even on putting that money in my pocket type vibe. That's so that I can go reach out to like more people on my team and pay them to do things. And it's like, it opens up more resources of what's possible the higher that people start paying me for these things. So that was a huge like realization for me. It's like, yeah, give me $1 million an hour and just watch what I do. It's like, there's no real end to the dollar amount that I think I'm worth, because I know that if you give me a certain budget, I'll deliver to every single dollar amount that's there, you know? So it's like, it's fun in that sense of like, I could charge $75 an hour for audio engineering or whatever, but like, I do so many other things that I don't have to rely on that, which is nice. So it's like, if you do want to record me, it's like, technically you can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are hitting me up on a regular basis now, and I'm sending them to other audio engineers, because I'm like, I'll just take a percentage off the top of that. And if you just are trying to record some music, it's like, dope. Yeah. And then get my audio engineer to send me the music they made. Then I can hear it under the roof of what I think are the best people to bring a result out of them. And then if it's like interesting, then it's like, oh, okay, let's chat. And like, yeah.
Well, it lends itself to, again, like your skill set as an A&R. Like, maybe you're not the guy, but you know a guy for the job. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that too. Like,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, just, you know, spread the love, you know? It's like, I know so many talented people. It's like, why would I do something when Castillo could do it way better? And you could just pay me to sit in the back of the room and do what I truly do, you know? So like, trying to build into that. I think a lot of us are trying to fill into the boots that we truly think we can fill, you know? It's like, I see potential, you know, in what we could do as a team. And it's like, I just want to grow into that as best as possible and make sure that I'm like learning as much as I can to be that person. So when these times come and they keep coming, that we're ready at any given moment for what we should be ready for. You know, it's like, And then once we're done and ready and finish that project, it's like, you know, we're going to be better on the next one because we learned so much from that process. So like, and I know everyone charges like an hourly rate, but I'm starting to look at it funny because it's like, well, like I don't have any free time and I'm making decent money at this now. It's like what I really want to do and like whatever the fuck I want to do. You know, it's like,
do you know Uncle Ricky?
Yeah, Uncle Ricky and me used to kick it back in Nimbus days.
Yeah, okay.
And he also came by the vault very early days as well to some like the events I threw there and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Uncle Ricky.
He's a great guy, but he also, you know, has I haven't spoken with him in probably a year, but last time we caught up, he was sort of doing the same type of thing as you, had taken more of the A&R route and more like just moving the big pieces as opposed to, you know,
somebody's got
tracking you know, SoundCloud rappers all day long. And I think that's so cool that he seems to be really good at it. Like the guy's super sharp, like
brings
very
a lot
business minded, brings a lot to the table. So when I heard he told me that he was doing that, like, oh man, that made so much sense. And I was like, really happy to hear that. So I'm just wondering if
he was always ahead of his time, Uncle Ricky.
Yeah.
Have
you talked to him recently or?
Probably not in like 5+ years, no.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. So
I try not to bother people.
It's so funny. It's such a small world because the podcast that the previous episode, the people that were my boys, the Renaissance, who I mentioned, they're in Uncle Ricky's old room now. So it's just like
trippy,
man, like everybody knows everybody.
Like my old studio was Chin and Jetty's before I got in there.
Is that right?
And I think that's part of why these rooms are so special. It's like they come with like that vibe of whoever, like
the history
with Chin and Jetty. It's like I always like had this fascination, like was Eminem here, was Kendrick here, like who was actually in this building? And then I started asking around and I was like, some of those people really were in that building before we got there. And it's like that's probably why that room was so magic, because Chin created a ambience in there. Ambiance, how do you say that word? It's like he created that vibe in that place before I even arrived to it, that like the first day I walked in that place, at first I was excited, but also I was like, oh, this place has things have happened here. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never got to go there. Where was that? Like, what was that?
Cambion Hastings in the old Dominion building.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right beside like Amsterdam Cafe and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So I know you're not there anymore, but like, how did that come about for you to move in there back in the day? Like,
God bless Kevin Williams.
Yeah.
Kevin Williams.
Oh, like Nimbus Kevin Williams?
Kevin Williams has my utmost support, and like I look up to him as my mentor in this game. Like Kevin Williams gave me the chance to get this all going. So
amazing.
When I was going to Nimbus, I used to like drive teachers home after class. I used to do whatever they asked me to do. Like they had that thing at Nimbus where it was like, if there's stuff you can do, go do it. And that's the best way to impress us. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm here to play the game. So whatever we're doing, I'll do. And so I did every last thing that they ever asked of me. And I remember like driving like certain teachers home. They'd be like, you want gas money? Do you want this, that, the other? And I'd be like, no, I want a recording studio. I'm spending $27,000 on an education here. I need a place to work when I leave here. Yeah. And I don't know if it was that, because no one ever told me how I got that job. I heard that maybe Kevin Williams and a bunch of the other teachers and staff there sat down and had like a chat about who should be the guy for this, but I really don't know how it actually played out. But about 3 weeks before I graduated, Kevin Williams pulled me aside. He said, I got this opportunity. You want to come meet for like an interview or something? And so I went and met him at the Dominion building. He told me the gig, and I was like, yeah, of course. And Kevin Williams has been like a proponent in my career ever since. Like I can't thank that guy's existence enough. And the vault truly started, I don't know. I actually still am curious myself. I have no idea why I got that spot, but I mean, I was sleeping 3 hours a night and living in the school. Like I literally lived at Nimbus. Yeah. So I think that probably also stood out a bit. Maybe I really don't know.
So did you start out as like an engineer there, or did they just give you the building and the keys? Like how did that?
I literally, like for 10, 15 years of my life, told the whole world. And before that, it was like I told people I want to be noisy till 5 a.m. And then like 14 years of age, I went to my first recording studio and I was like, oh, I could be noisy here till 5 a.m. Plus I could do all the other things I want to do. So then that became like, I needed that. So for 10, 15 years, I just went around everywhere just being like, I need that. And I just told the whole universe that. And then one day this lady walks up to me with a pair of keys, exactly what you were saying, and just dropped them in my hands. I was like, that shit's crazy. I've lived by that ever since. It's like, if you can put something out into the universe in a way that you're explaining it in like 2 to 3 sentences, what you're trying to accomplish, you'll always find somebody eventually that wants that. A lot of people tell you you're crazy, but eventually you'll hit that one person that goes, oh, actually, I know a guy. And then you chat with that guy. And then that guy goes, oh, I know a bunch about this world, or I know some more people that could help. And then it just snowballs like that, you know? That's
why they say, you know, write down your goals or be specific about them.
Yeah.
Like you just said, because I often think of life as like a big video game, right? I don't know if you play video games, but I certainly have spent a lot of my life playing video games, and they're called NPCs. They're non-playable characters, but they're just basically like characters within the game that you interact with that come with a pre-programmed story that you can choose to take or not take. And based on if you interact with NPCs, your progression through the game will be completely different, and your rewards will be completely different. But there are NPCs in the real world as well. And if you come with your goals and your ideas written out in a specific way and you interact with them, like the rewards are there. They're out there. They're just waiting.
Yeah.
Mental.
Like, I never want to say like it's like some like it is manifestation, but in like a truer sense of manifestation. Like, I always like to add in that like I put this stuff out in the universe. Like, I kind of accomplished all my boyhood dreams like way back, you know? And then it was like, well, fuck, I need new dreams. But now I have like the blueprint to go chase those things, and I want everyone else to have them as well. It's like, it's that simple. It's like, find what you're trying to do, explain to people in 2 to 3 sentences what you want to do, and kind of an idea how you're going to do it, or something along those lines, and then go tell every human being you've ever met in your life. And then every person you run into at a bus stop, every person you run into anywhere in your life, just tell them. I literally do that shit. Like, I'm a crazy person, but like I do that shit. And it's like, eventually you do find somebody that's got some kind of an idea.
Yeah.
Like, I've created a career for myself that I don't think anybody else really has. Like, I always, like, this was the craziest shit after I accomplished all my boyhood dreams. I just started telling the universe that I wanted to get paid to be me. And people, like, everyone looked at me like, you're nuts, bro. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, I also want to be like 7 feet tall. I get all these like comments, right? But it's like, I just kept saying it.
Yeah.
And now I literally get paid to be me. So I created a career that's just my life. My life is my career, and my career is my life, where I don't, again, you're asking what I do on a weekly basis, like whatever the fuck I want to do. And I love that. Like, I love that. It's, you can't hire me, really. It's like, you can approach me, and if I really like, but like, I'm too busy. So it's like, yeah, it's just like, it's nice. And I think everyone should aim for that. I don't share that to be like anything other than like, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be willing to put in just a couple things, the time, the hard work to actually do the things you say you're going to do, and the passion. Like, there's probably a couple other things involved, but like, as long as you can tell people what you're trying to do, and then be willing to put in the hard work that actually comes along with actually, like, I want to be an audio engineer. Say, for instance, that's the thing. It's like, that's dope. And I guarantee you, like, that's possible. But after that, you got to put in the hard work of actually, like, once someone tells you that Ableton exists or whatever it is, you actually got to sit there and like put in the hard work, you know? Man,
that is super inspiring. I love what you're saying. This is the reason I started doing this show, was for people to tell stories like exactly like that.
I really want that. Like, I really in my soul want that, you know? Like, I want people to know that, like, you know, you hear it all the time. Like, you could go do anything you want to go do. You could be anything you want to be. But like, let's take that a bit further. That happens for a reason. You can do those things, but there's a step-by-step process for it. And like, if anyone ever wants to phone me, I don't give a shit. Like, anybody, I'll gladly sit there and explain it to them. There's a way to actually go about that from a blueprint standpoint of like, what are you trying to accomplish, and how do you go out there and attack it and actually like achieve those goals? Like, it's always possible, unless, like, if I want to go play in the NHL or something, like, you know, but like, most things in life that are tangible, and even some things that seem like they're not, are grabbable if you just go out and do a couple blueprint type things, you know?
Well, I can't remember how you worded it a few minutes ago, but you said like, you know, I can't be 7 feet tall, but I can be me.
Yeah.
You know, like just figure out a way to be you.
And then root it all in that happiness we were talking about earlier. Like,
yeah.
Like maybe you want to go do some crazy shit, but like stop and think, are you going to be happy? Like also think about that. Like, cause maybe you want to be 7 feet tall, but they got to add leg extensions. It might be painful. It's like, maybe don't.
How important do you think like your actual like natural skill set or your aptitudes play a role in achieving these things? Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't do math to save my life. I did summer school and then had to redo math again. So I did grade 10 math 3 times. Like I've accepted the fact that like my brain doesn't work that way, and that's okay, but I don't put a lot of effort into being good at math as a part of my success in life, right? So I've sort of narrowed it down and filtered it into things that I naturally am good at, naturally that make me feel good at the same time, and that come not come easy, but like I have an aptitude for, right? So obviously for you,
that's a great point. Yes, sir.
You're very social. You speak well. You know, you're great with people. All of these things, you're born with those things, right? And so it's like, okay, I have this skill set. How can I make these things work to the best of my ability?
Yeah. Like, don't go try to play in the NHL if you're starting to play hockey for the first time at 30. Like, that's so brilliant what you just said, man. Like, an aptitude as well. Find shit you love, find stuff that makes you happy, be willing to work hard, be willing to go out there and tell people what you're doing, like confidently, because you actually believe it. But I never thought about that bit. I'm going to take that with me. It's like the aptitude for those things too. Like sometimes you might want to go do something, but, and I don't want to stop anyone there either. It's like, maybe you don't, but you can. Because like, there's a lot of things that I got good at that I wasn't originally. But from an aptitude standpoint, it's like, on a deeper sense of attitude, it's like, can all those things mix into the point where if I'm not naturally good at it right now, am I willing to be crazy enough to like put in like twice as much time as somebody else? Like, if you really want to figure out math, but everybody else is way better in your class, you got to know you got to work 5 times harder than everyone else to get to even the level that they're at, and then 10 times harder to like surpass them and lap them. So that's a great point, man.
Because I think of, you know, I think of my journey here, and like, it's just, that's all it is. Like I was playing songs. I had a little ukulele when I was 3, and I used to write lyrics and songs when I was 3. Yeah. And I had an aptitude for melody and putting words together. And every time my grandmother or like uncles and aunts always remind me, like, you know, you were speaking like way younger than most kids, like way before you were like you were talking at a really young age, like full sentences. And it's just like, here I am now on the mic again. It's just like, but I had an aptitude for that. And
probably enjoyed it too.
And probably enjoyed it. And it's like, I just made the things that I was naturally good at work for me. But fuck, I had to work on them as well to like refine them. Like there's a gem there, but like I had to turn it into a diamond, you know what I mean? To make it really sparkle. Like it's there when you're born, you know, but absolutely put time and effort into becoming excellent.
Can I also add in, man, like I didn't really know, like I've only ever been on my own podcast. Like I've only ever been host. I've never been guest. And thank you for inviting me out, but like, this is good. What you're doing here is great, man. Like this is brilliant. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like I didn't know what to expect here today, but like, I love this, man. Like, cool. And thank you. Just thank you. Cause like this city needs these kinds of things, you know? So thank you for like doing this kind of stuff, you know?
Well, I appreciate the feedback, man. And honestly, like I love doing this. I've been every moment of today being able to like talk to you.
This is cool as hell.
Cool as hell. Like nobody's looking at their phones right now. It's so rare nowadays in 2023 that you can sit down with another human being uninterrupted for like an hour plus, look into their eyes, see them smile, pick their brain, learn things from them. Like, man, I've learned so much from people in 58 episodes, and like I've gotten so much smarter, I like to think, you know, but just expanded my horizons so much. So I gain a lot from this show as well, but I hope that my real, you know, you asked me at the very beginning when you came in, like, what do you want to do with this show? And it's just like, I think really I just want to like inspire younger people. I think about myself when I first started making music, and it's like, I had no idea where to go. I had a MacBook with GarageBand and was making songs, didn't even know what a compressor was. Reverb back then wasn't reverb. It was like a slider from 0 to 100. Like, I didn't know this shit, but on this show, like, it's a podcast for the people that make music, right? And so that you can learn. This is our culture. We're speaking the same language. Like, my mother-in-law will watch this, but she's not going to understand 90% of the show. But people that are artists, engineers, producers, whatever, that are in the culture, like, are going to watch this and be like, yo, that's my jam. Like, those are my people. They're speaking my language. Yeah.
And like, eventually you'll have one of these podcasts like pop, you know, like, especially, I didn't realize you'd done that many, but you keep doing them like that. And the consistency of that, like, you'll have some of these start really popping off. And then people will go back through the catalog, and there's so much juicy information to like pull from that, like, is so valuable in that sense. Like, you're creating like all these historical records of some very, very talented, interesting people. And it's like, please keep doing this, because like eventually something like the Machine story on Joe Rogan or whatever, you know, something will just like click with the internet, and it'll like fly off. You'll watch your followers grow very quickly overnight, and you'll be like, and then those people will go back and watch all the old stuff and be like, so much value, man. Like so much value in all this stuff.
I like to think about the the catalog, like some of the older episodes before we were filming it. Like, you know, we had Boslin on like before he got signed, you know, and like Kelland was on there, and like early Jamon, and like these people are
Jamon's
like,
the man, bro.
These people are like names now, you know, like with blue check marks online. Yeah. But like we had them on the show, and it was just like, they were just coming up, and I'm so grateful that we had a chance to like have those conversations. So like, absolutely, you know, if this show is interesting, go back in the vault, listen to some of those early episodes. Like, there's some really cool shit there, you know, of like these are artists' early development.
Every single one of these, like, I remember like, what was that guy's name? Bob Ezrin?
Yeah.
Like, I remember Bob Ezrin saying in one of those like Nimbus, like whole school meetings with Bob Ezrin moments, I remember him saying something along the lines of like, even if you're watching paint dry, you better fucking learn something. And that hit me. It just always stuck with me. It was like, oh, okay. So like, wherever I am, I'm always trying to learn something. I guarantee you in every single episode of this you've done, there's so much to take away from it and like value. So again, thank you for like, because like this city doesn't have these kinds of things, you know, like not on the level that I wish it did. So like, when I ran into you and you asked me to be on, it was an honor, because it was like, yeah, someone's doing something cool in the city and they want me to like be on it. Like, yeah.
That's so cool.
Anytime, any place. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Well, that's what it's all about. I've always been such a big advocate for like community, man. And just like, like us as a city supporting each other and sharing each other's work and being there for each other. Like, there's no, you know, there's this idea that someone else's success is maybe taking away from your success, like as if there's just like a bowl of success and like there's a limited supply in there, and like, oh, he's got that much, that means there's less for me. Like, but it simply doesn't work that way. Like, the universe is infinite. All this is energy at the end of the day. This is all energy. Like, we're just made up of molecules and atoms, right? Like, there's a place for everybody. There's a everyone's got a space. There's you know, I'm allowed to be a fan of XYZ. I can't, like, no one person is a fan of one artist, right? So like, if you see someone else killing it, like, and they're from your city, fucking support that. Like, get behind that.
Hell yeah, bro.
Don't be like jealous. Like, we got to get rid of that idea that like, man, step on that. Like, get your ego out of the equation. If someone else from your city is doing well, like, go to their show, buy their tickets, and retweet them, reshare them, like, support that, because like, we've all, like, we're in this together, man. Like, we can all become better and stronger together.
Yeah, like, I'm a Thanksgiving baby. I throw thank yous maybe a little too much, but again, like, thank you for that. Like, because like, you probably give a voice to some people that otherwise wouldn't have had one, because like, just what you just said, like, you just care about that shit. So it's like, you know, maybe you had like a Boslin or whatever on, but it's like, I assume you also have guys like me on, which is cool. It's like, I'm just some guy that, like, I don't even think anyone really knows who I am, you know? It's like, I'm just some guy that does a bunch of shit behind the scenes, and I just ran into you one day and we know each other, and you're like, let's sit down and have a podcast. It's like, that's cool as hell, man. Like,
yeah. Well, again, like I know what you do. Like, even though we haven't spoken for 10 years, like, we're on each other's radar. Like, people through the social media algorithms, like, we see each other. And I know you know, it's just like a matter of like, oh, I got to hit that guy up. So when you ran into me at work, it was like, oh, this is a sign. Like, the universe is like, put us on that staircase together. It's like, I'm not just going to let that.
Yeah. Thank the universe, man. Yeah.
Like, of course we're getting together. And even if we weren't doing the show, like, I would have hit you up to just hang out, man, to have coffee and just hear about what you've been up to, because I care about that. I'm interested.
You've always been kind of like, we never really like spent a lot of time together, not even like Nimbus days, because you were in the business, I was in the engineering side, but like even over all the years, like I look back, like you actually did make an effort to like always like check in, reach out and stuff, like, you know, even if it's every couple of years or whatever, like you were always kind of like, hey, what's up, man? How you been? And like, I appreciate those things too. And like, I hope if people are listening to this as well, like take that in note too. Be like Max, you know, like go reach out to some people. Like, don't be cool guy. Fuck cool. Cool guy sucks. Like, be the guy that's like Deshine. I don't work with him. I don't have anything to do with his career. I'm just a fan. So like, why not shout him out? I love listening to his music. It's like, why not? Like, am I too cool to shout out somebody that just because they're not on my thing? It's like, no. Show love to the whole city.
Absolutely. Be the first person to say hello, you know. It's just, you're I'll speak for myself, but like, ego is really is a motherfucker. Like,
oh yeah.
You know, there's a time and place for ego. You know, if you're a rapper, that's kind of like, you know, that's it. Yeah, that's, like, that's all you got, right? That,
you know, when you sign contracts, there's like that little bar where you have to like name the group.
No.
Well, like we were doing these contracts back in the day, and it was like there was a line where it's like, all right, you got all parties involved.
Okay.
And for the sake of the contract, we will call all those people collectively this thing.
Okay.
For the sake of making this contract easy. I remember showing this contract to this guy, and he's like, I'd like to put the name of that whole thing as No Egos. And I should have just ran at that moment. Like, because it's like egos are the worst, man. Like, and you always know, like, you can just tell kicking it with you that like, you're just here for the right reasons. But like, the ego thing is gross, man.
It's gross. And especially in our industry, like you said, you know, walking into studios, you get a feel right away, and you get to feel people right away too. Like, there's a lot of people that I just choose not to work with for my own, you know, and I'm losing out on hourlies and money as a result. But it's just like, I've had sessions with those people, and it's just like, I'm good.
And like,
I don't need that in my life.
That's going to pay that, like long term, that's going to pay you way more than the money that you would have made over that section of time. Because it's like your value goes up, you know?
Yeah. So
even this conversation, like, I'm gonna go spread the word of Max Dishaw over here. Like, I'm like, because it's like you're doing those things, and it's like people will be attracted to those things more than like keeping your rate at whatever it is or whatever it is. It's like,
you want to be a person that people want to be around.
Yeah.
In the music industry, because you're going to be sitting in a room with people for hours, maybe a day.
Sometimes years.
On
one project, you know?
On one project, yes. Sleeping on the couch, and you know, if they're not fun to be around, like, man, like, everything, the art's gonna suffer, but like, you're gonna suffer, everybody's gonna suffer. So just like, be cool, man.
Like, that's another thing.
Be a good person to be around.
Like, stress, like, fuck stress.
I avoid,
like, that's again, like, I'm kind of a weird person like that. Like, I do have like my things, you know, that like mess me up. I started paying attention to that. I think that's again why No More was built. I was built because everyone wanted me to do this, that, the other with it or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna be stressed out, and like, stress is the true killer. Like if you can get to a high level of stress, you actually like, it messes up more than just your brain. It messes up your entire like being as a whole. Like,
to be totally transparent with you for a sec, like, on the topic of stress, I missed out on, like, I was out of commission recently, and I thought I had like a virus or a flu. And I went, saw my doctor, and I got like every test you can get and gave every fluid you can give, and everything was fine. And I realized, like, I was just burnt the fuck out. My body was done. Like, I was stressed beyond what is acceptable, to the point where I thought I was like, I had COVID again or some shit. Like, I was that sick, right? But it's a real thing. Like, it's not just your it doesn't just make you like worried and stressed and have sweaty palms, but it's like, no, it'll fuck your whole body up, man.
Yeah.
So like, look after yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't need like that couple extra projects or whatever, like look after yourself, give yourself, like put yourself first sometimes, or maybe all the time, but like have your own interests in mind, man. And yeah, like it's forget about a couple extra paychecks. Like if you're not going to be happy, like if your health is going to suffer, like like why?
Again, you know, there's plenty of jobs out there, 9 to 5s, you know, it's like, go do that. If you're just trying to cut a check, it's like,
yeah. So it's dangerous, but I'm still learning over the years, like what my limits are, I guess, you know, because I try and you know, like we were saying before, you know, we work around the clock a lot of the time, maybe most of the time, and I'm definitely getting better at that, at like, you know, not charging for not like counting calories with how much I'm texting necessarily, like so to speak, but
stressing itself.
but definitely like being conscious of like, okay, like maybe I close my laptop for the day and like go home and like be a husband instead of like be on Instagram responding to DMs until 1 a.m. and like doing mix revisions in the kitchen, you know, because I've been that guy, and it's
sometimes you just gotta sit down and have some sweet kisses, you know. It's like there's nothing wrong with that either. It's like you gotta relax and just like have a life and stuff.
Have a
like
life.
I forgot about that for a long time too. Like I kind of got lost in the sauce of this is it. Like this is all like, and this is all I did for like almost a decade, you know. And it's like I was seeing a girl like way back when the vault started, and like she'd cry every day. So like I'd be going to the studio every night, and it was like, "You're going to the studio again?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm gonna be in the studio every night, like every day, every night. Like that's what we're gonna." But
get
like,
used to it.
Like you got to also find that balance. Yeah, like for the young kids coming up in this game, like nothing wrong also with just like putting in some good years and hustle and all that. But even in those years, like find some normalcy as well. Like because like, or maybe don't. I don't fucking know. Do what's best for you. But like, I wish I would have done a bit more of that, like normal shit. Like,
and everyone's gonna have their own thresholds as well.
I haven't been to a movie theater in like 10 years. You know, it's like just you know,
exactly. We're all, you know, I know what it's like to be hungry and to want success and to be chasing your dreams, and like by all means, like go and fucking do that. But at the same time, like leave space for your body to recharge, because if you do get to the point of burnout, like you won't be able to do anything. You'll be bedridden like I was. And so like with all things, like find a balance.
Yeah, good old atmosphere track, you know. It's like just trying to find a balance, you know?
Man,
but like actually try and find it. Like there is benefits to balance for sure. Like I think a lot of kids, like as simple as that sounds, like somebody watching this that just does like, you know, regular 9 to 5, for the artists and stuff, I think that probably does resonate. It's like, it's like, it's okay. It's okay to it's okay to like go have a life and shit, you know?
And I think for me, I'll speak for myself, but one of the biggest distractions or problems I get caught up with is definitely social media and comparing myself to other people, and failing to recognize that I have achieved a great amount of success already, but seeing everyone's like little snippet of their highlight of their day and being like, oh, well, I'm just like sitting here on the couch, like
I gotta do something.
I gotta go do something. I feel anxious.
I get that all the time, bro. I never heard anyone else say that, but it's like,
no. Like we got to remember that social media, and let's just use Instagram for a moment, is like, that's not that person's life. That's like one split second of the best moment of their best day of that week.
It's like showing like the knockout in a UFC fight without showing that guy get punched in the face a bunch before he got the knockout. It's
and like the weight cut above, or in the training and the
way better point. Yeah, like before the fight even starts, like the fight that they had to fight to get to the actual fight itself.
And we're all out here fighting like hard and weight cutting hard. And when you see someone's story or you see their post, like don't forget, like that's a curated snippet of their life. Like so don't go out there and like get caught up in you know, trying to chase that. Like it's okay, like we're all working really hard out here, we're all doing, so just give yourself like a pat on the back, give yourself
also,
like
instead
a
of sitting there like jelly beans, like hit that person up if you're feeling a little bit of jealousy.
Even that, there you go.
Hit them up and just be like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like most people are pretty cool. It's like, hey, that thing that you were doing on Instagram the other day, like, that's super cool. Like, you don't have to reach out and be like, how'd you do that? Or like, can I take. Like, reach out to that person and be like, yo, that was cool. And that's how the city starts supporting each other. You know, it's like, rather than sitting there being like, fuck, man, I'm fucking doing that. It's like, reach out and be like, yeah, man, like, I saw something that you posted today and it's cool. Yeah. And I support it. And then you build friends and shit. It's like, absolutely. And the next thing you know, you're kicking it with that person. That thing that they were doing on Instagram has you beside them in it. And then it's like, fuck, mission accomplished, you know? Yeah. And because you got your ego out of the way, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's more important to be curious. Like, be curious, be vulnerable, like, ask questions. You know how often I've reached out to like engineers that I look up to and they actually hit me up, like Prodigy, like Mob Deep Prodigy's engineer, like 2 or 3 different people that have worked with them throughout the years. They've all hit me up and I've started conversations with them. And I'm like, this is amazing. They're not talking about their vocal chain with me over DMs, but it's like, it's at least like there's a conversation happening. It's like an energy transfer.
There's an energy transfer. And if at least I can just be like, I love what you're doing. I'm such a big fan. Like, you know, what I said recently was just like, thank you for being like a real engineer and caring about the craft. Yeah. Because I don't feel that way about a lot of rap nowadays.
You said that to Prodigy?
No, to
I feel like that's cool.
No, he's dead, right? But to one of his engineers that worked on his last album, and it was just like, because it sounded so good, and I was just like, man, I got to find out who did this, and like went out of my way to do that, DM'd, and now like we follow each other, and it's just like, how cool is that? Like,
also there's something there as well where it's like, never underestimate like the cool shit you could do by accident. Like, it's like you reach out and it's like, all right, whoops, like half the time you don't get a reply, but every so often, like there's some cool people out there and some big stages. I don't think that fully makes sense, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying, 110, and everybody was an amateur at one point too, right? Like, don't forget that. Like, I didn't used to know what a compressor did.
I love the skate park. Like, the skate park was always the best because like the kids that were just first time on a skateboard to the kids that have been doing it their whole lives, skate park always had that communal vibe. Yeah,
like, that's a great example.
Hey buddy, hit it again. Tip the skate
all
like this.
Sharing one arena there.
Let's go. Like, oh, if you just come up on that thing and you just hit it like this, like, try that again. Yeah, man. And then you like, it's like the skate park was always a beautiful sense of community in that sense, and like we need more of that in the music industry. 100%. Yeah. Like, you watch someone fall over, maybe go help them pick them up because like you know how to do that. Yes. So, like, pick them up. Yeah. 110. Yeah, man. Scraping knees and shit. You know, it's like if you see someone scrape a knee, fucking bring some first aid and help them out. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Oh, that's a really good analogy. The skate park analogy. That makes me think about something that I wanted to ask, I guess, was, can you point to certain examples or articulate maybe like some of the biggest hurdles that you've had to overcome in like, maybe let's say since graduating Nimbus, like some of the, like, not low points necessarily, but like biggest lessons or like the biggest struggles that you've had to overcome that have really like changed you?
Man, it's been a wild journey. Like, for me, it was like I never cared about money. That was my biggest issue. Like, I created a problem through that. Like, I just was never really interested in money. And like, I nearly starved to death. Like not like jokes on jokes, like really nearly starved to death. Like, this isn't like years ago. This is like a couple weeks ago. And it was like, I learned right then and there that like, again, back to like just taking care of like the necessities and like the stress and all that and just managing that stuff. Biggest lesson I've ever learned is silly because like I never gave a shit about money. I just did not. Like, I had a great little solid steady Eddie with the vault there and like everything was moving smooth, so I never had to care about it. And then pandemic happens, lost that job overnight, and then like had to start figuring that side out, but never still really cared about it. It was like, all right, let's just get this to whatever it needs to be. But I started sitting down and realizing like how many kids I could help out if I had money. Like, if I built like what they had built over at the vault for kids, like most of that was me like putting in the work to like build these programs and stuff that I was like, it's sad to me over the last 3 years I've been able to help kids like that. Like, there's no opportunity for me to help kids like I was over that almost decade. And I know there's kids out there that could use these kind of services and these kind of skills and these kind of mentors, and the list goes on. So it's like, that's my push now. I want money. Like, and I want money so I can then reinvest that back into this community and these kids in the city. Give some kid out in like West Burnaby that doesn't have any money or access to nothing that might end up being a gangbanger. I want to give him an access to a recording studio. So instead of smashing windows on the weekend and doing meth or whatever the fuck these kids want to go do, it's like they're in a recording studio learning something they're passionate about. And just like, who knows, that might be just that one thing that changes the course of a human's life. And then I started thinking about, I was like, well, shit, if I could like fund a lot of that, you could literally change the landscape of the whole planet. So like, biggest thing I learned was like, money's valuable. I know it sounds strange to the rest of the world, but to me, it was a huge lesson. Like, it was huge. Like,
to respect what you can do with it, I guess, or to respect its value.
Yeah. Like, cause I'd make these giant checks, but then I just stopped doing shit for a while and just get back to just like making albums for free and stuff. Cause it was like, I'm good for a second. And then it was like, you get back down and then like some kind of bill pops up out of nowhere or some kind of equipment breaks or something. You're like, oh, there's no, and then the whole bottom falls out and I got to let everyone down. So it's like, all right, let's get ourselves financially secure so I don't got to let everyone down again. When I lost the vault, I was working on like 5 projects at the time. I had 20 to 30 kids that were like at-risk youth and such that I was working with. I had so many people counting on me outside of the music, like the graphic designers and all that. Like, when that ended overnight, like I had to literally phone, it took me about 3-4 weeks. I had to phone each one of them individually and have a long conversation about like, it's done. And I was like, I just don't ever want to repeat that again. It's like, I know that we can do so much good for the city, for the community, but most importantly for me, it's like the kids, like catch the kids while they're young and they're not beyond the point of repair is where I think my skills come in. I think you should help everybody, but me specifically, I think my skills come in with like, just because of the learning that I had at that space, I'm really good at just like helping kids avoid some of the pitfalls that we ran into and all that, you know, all the way from drugs and alcohol, just simple things like what's a compressor, like, and everything in between, you know?
So if I'm understanding this, it's like at the time for you, there wasn't like a secure, you had no money to fall back on because you were reinvesting everything too quickly or just spending.
Like
and
my camera was my breadwinner after the pandemic. Like I bought a camera, and it's funny. Like I've been in audio my whole life, and I probably spent like at least $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, school was 27 on its own, so probably more like $200,000-$300,000 in my lifetime on this music shit and audio shit. As soon as I bought a camera, without even knowing how to operate the thing, people just wanted to hire me and pay me money. It was a bizarre thing to me. It was like, what the fuck? It's a different world. There's craft services. There's like, we come from the world of begging and pleading for every last little bit of work we can get. And then I bought a camera, and it was like, hey, can you do this thing? Yada, yada, yada. And also I was in a position where like, I do audio. So like, if you want me to come do this thing, I'm going to set my rate super high. Cause like, I don't technically even like want to go do that. It's like, I bought a camera for me, like, you know, so it was like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Lot more. Yeah. I mean, I guess.
And then actually to fully complete that thought, is like, then because I learned that with cameras, I flipped my audio shit to be like, actually, I'll go do camera shit if you don't want to pay me proper for audio shit. And then like slowly those numbers have been starting to match as well. Cause it's like, again, I'm unhireable. Like I don't want to be like a French king, fucking left, right swipe on people and shit. But it's like, I only got so much time in a day, so I can't help everybody. It's like, show me what you got. And like, if I can help and the budget's right, and all those like perfect little things fall in place, I'll gladly do it. If not, I'll be like taking a photograph somewhere or running an event or whatever, doing the merch shit, you know?
I think there's, I mean, maybe not equally, but as many gigs to do with audio as there are to do with video stuff. But the video thing just seems to be more attractive to people like right out of the gate for some reason, isn't it? Like I want to, because I can make a video and maybe share it on my phone. I think it's our phone's fault.
Everyone just thinks audio is video, I think, to a certain degree. They're like, yeah, the video guy got the audio. It's like we'll pay him. It's like they don't understand how much goes into making audio sound good, you know? To
have good audio. Because our phones record audio but they do video much better.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, that's the default nowadays in 2023. Is just like everything is video, but audio really gets like it's definitely second place, and there's far too much content out there
and yet
nowadays
we still
with
do a
bad
great job.
audio.
Like, why do we still do a great job to the point where like we're accepting it to a certain degree, and like I just was like, I'm just done accepting that as a thing. It's like, yeah, I'm not even gonna be the guy to do your audio. I'm gonna be the guy to bring you to the guy that's gonna do your audio, and I still want to be fucking paid in the middle of it, because it's like, I'm not linking you with that person unless like there's some kind of Benny to me for it. So, I mean, you've heard about who all these people are, but it's like if you really truly want the greatest result, like we got a system of beyond just an audio engineer, beyond just figuring out how to get your album art done. We have a whole. That's what I think we really built. Like what No More kind of is to a certain degree. It's a blueprint from beginning to end. It's a pipeline. It's multiple pipelines. Yeah. Of like, once you get the song done and the mixing and the mastering and the album art and the music video and then like a marketing plan together and then this and then you got a couple shows lined up, you're still going to run into something where like, fuck, I need merch or whatever it is. And it's like, we figured out how to do every last step of the game so that like, you know, don't go through me, that's fine. But just know that if you go through me, it's like we can deliver something that I don't think exists really, you know? And like, that's what I've always tried to build, I think. It's just like...
Well, it's an empire.
We just kind of, we got tired of seeing our artists not have that taken care of. So we figured it out based on just helping our own artists. But now if an artist is brand new that I'm just meeting tomorrow comes to me, I can provide that service. You know? But I'm not going to be the audio engineer. I might take the photo or whatever. Like I might do all those things, but I might not do any of them.
Yes.
And then just, you know, taking a percentage off all those things because like everybody's got to eat. Like I used to just be like, I'm a connector really. Like really what I do best is connect people.
Yes.
And so like I got stopped. I had like someone sat me down. They're like, stop doing that shit for free. Take a percentage off all that shit. Cause like you're out here literally starving and like going broke and we're going to lose you. So like figure that shit out ASAP because truly what you do is connect people, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, there you go. That's your, like we said before, that's your skill set that comes naturally for you, but it took you a while to realize like, oh, there's a dollar sign associated with this. Like there's a value to what I'm doing. I've been doing this for free because I enjoy it and it comes naturally to me, but like, hang on a sec, maybe I can make this like my gig, you know?
And like, yeah, it takes a bit of self-confidence in that and you got to put in the years and effort to like get that self-confidence. But yeah, you hit a certain point where you're like, I know what I can do.
Yeah.
I know what I bring to the table. I know what I can do. And if you need it done, and you got a budget, it's like, cool, we can definitely pull it.
I think it's amazing what you're doing, and getting to hear about, you know, No More and all the different services that you guys offer and how comprehensive it all is. If an artist is, you know, independent artist doing their thing right now, like how would they go about getting in touch with you guys if they wanted to start like a relationship or just get the ball rolling? I mean, is there a website that people can go to or no?
None of that shit. Don't even, like, honestly, I don't even care. I used to have a website and all that, like nomore.com and all that, and I still own the site, but like, not yet. It's like, I like the kind of like grassroots vibe of it. So you have to, again, you want a hoodie, you got to DM me. And like, I'll literally put the order together myself and all that, but like, yeah, I mean, just reach out and DM. Yeah. If you know someone that knows me, have them reach out or... I mean, I'm on the internet, Krev Mack, like Krev Mack. Not hard to find. So like, if you really want to reach out, and I do my best to keep up on all that. Like I get a lot of DMs and texts and Facebook DM. Like there's so many levels of like DMs you can shit now, but like all that shit's bogged down. Like I guarantee you my phone's been buzzing this whole time, but like I'll always do my best to get back to everybody, whether I give a shit or I don't about what you're doing next. It's like, cause like, maybe you can become better if I even just like give you at least a bit of my time to share something. So I always try to give everybody a time of day I can, you know? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. I think that that's a really good place to end. This has been so much fun. We'll have to do this again.
Anytime you want me on this thing, dude, I'll come back tomorrow if you want. This is fun as hell, bro.
In the near future. I'm so glad we reconnected, dude, after like all these years. And again, like it's just it brings me a lot of joy and it's inspiring for me to see people like yourself out there doing it for the right reasons, trying to genuinely like help the city, you know, develop these artists. And I think it's just beautiful. So please, if you ever need anything from me, I am here for you as well.
Bless
like
you, bro.
in any shape or form. So let's keep the community strong, and put the city on the map. Thank you for being here. It's Krev Mack and Max DeShaw on Demo to Limo. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Ab and Empress. Fucking A.